Hi, my name's Lee Bivona, and this is video 3 in a second series of video vignettes I'm calling A Life Worth Living. And they're based on my years of experience as a hospice nurse and other healthcare things I've done in the past 30 years, just to give back to life some of the amazing gifts that my patients and families have taught me about life and living. So again, this is video clip 3 in this series 2, and it's called Love Undenied. And the situation takes place at a patient's home. He's a retired gentleman and a true entrepreneur, and really was an innovator in the industrial world, retired quite successfully. And the point of him coming into our hospice care, he was very, very weak. Actually nodding, and you can actually watch his face even with his eyes closed to actually think through things, was laborious for him. Hardly able to eat or drink, hardly able to move any on his own. And for us kind of looking at him heading to the heavens, probably within 2 or 3 weeks away from that point. His wife was quite a guardian of the house, and actually when she would invite one of us in from hospice, we would stay in the foyer area probably for 5 or 10 minutes, and she would really query us kind of where we were coming from. She wasn't defensive, but she certainly wanted to be clear what our objectives were with coming into the house, and actually had a very limited access to that port in her home. She didn't want spiritual care coming, limited social work visits, and had really limited it down to almost formal nursing visits and the nurse's aides to come and help get her husband clean. What was unique about this situation was she actually wanted him up out of bed, in a wheelchair, in the living room or the dining room, and kind of functioning at the level that he had been a month before. And obviously coming into hospice at that time was because he just really wasn't able to do much or almost nothing for himself at that point, almost no food intake or drink. And again, heading to the heavens was clearly on its way. One of the things that I do when I really do see a somewhat high professional family is I realize dialogue and kind of explaining things in an almost professional way really is often very helpful for them. But I still try to tie in the importance of staying connected and of love. So I asked this patient's wife what her values were regarding what hospice was doing there. And she was really clear to really help kind of manage his body and to keep it functioning as much as it could, which we were certainly in agreement on. And then I explained my role. I said, as a nurse in hospice care, I said, I think it's somewhat unique because certainly as a nurse I'm looking at your husband's, I would say this to her, your husband's physical body and how to help manage the best quality of life for him in that. And also that I'm looking at when that physical body starts winding down as it is, where to next? And I asked them their spiritual values. They were raised and have Christian values, then believe in heaven. And then we started talking about the difference between experience and faith and hope. And she asked me what I meant by that, and I was sharing that in my experiences of 12 years in hospice care, people often have a spiritual value system or a religion or a doctrine, and in almost stark contrast sometimes, in a good way, they have really profound spiritual experiences, whether it's in dream type of experiences or intuitive or visions, or even out of body, but a huge range of experiences that within their religious doctrine or their spiritual value system as far as what's said or faith, they don't actually have a doctrine for that, but these experiences are certainly real for these people. And what I was sharing with her why that's important is because I was saying for your husband, I like to kind of know what people's experiences are, because often when they're physically winding down or dying, they're actually moving more and more into those experiences, and sometimes it matches doctrine and sometimes it really doesn't, and everyone kind of needs to make a declaration as to where to go with that. And it's usually a person's experiences that become kind of the cornerstone of how to move through the dying process. So she asked me for an example of that. She said, like what? And an example that I've used through my life since I was 18, that I had an out-of-body experience in a car accident when I was 18. And for me, being raised from a Christian background, there certainly wasn't information in the 1970s about near-death or about out-of-body experiences. And yet I had that experience. And in addition to that, I also saw, experienced to my right during that car accident was this blue spiritual being. Also, in my church, nobody really identified a blue spiritual being in any way that I, as a farm boy from Iowa, would expect to encounter. And I shared that with her. I said, because that experience gave me some profound things. One, it showed me that my consciousness and personality, or me, can exist without my physical body. My physical body was down to the left, and here's this me, my consciousness, up here by the dome light. I feel safe and relaxed, very alert and loved. And this blue spiritual being is here, and my belief is that he was actually protecting me during that car accident. So I said that I look for those kind of things, unique experiences that seem to bridge physical reality and other realities that aren't physical, and we usually call those spiritual. So she found that actually very helpful. She appreciated that I was giving information that way. I was not imposing doctrine. I didn't tell her what my religious affiliations are, but I shared with her this bridging of people's direct experiences as their physical bodies winding down, what's happening for them instead of a physical focus. So the next thing that was important in this story is this wife of this dear, dear man. She appeared to have a sense of denial of how far along he was in his disease process, and was she actually in denial because she still wanted him to function at the same level of activity that he had been at weeks ago, talking, eating, drinking, and all. So the language we actually used in hospice was that she was in denial. And for 2 or 3 weeks we actually struggled with how to, because we felt like we were kind of being unkind to him, forcing him into a wheelchair, her adamance about heating and eating food, and the nurse's aides trying to feed a man who could barely open his mouth at times. So we were using that language of denial. So about 3 weeks came by, and it was really kind of a struggle for us because we wanted to talk with her like, maybe you're not really seeing how close that your husband is to dying. And one day on this third weekend, I approached her. It was a Sunday, and as I came into the protective foyer area, she said, I know that he's changing, and I know that he's really winding down. She said, it was funny because it was almost like she kind of opened this little private window. And she said to me, I'm not in denial. And I must have conveyed some of that in my face because I didn't use that language, but my body must have conveyed that I thought she was. She says, I'm not in denial. She says, don't you think at 2 or 3 in the morning when I'm laying by him on the bed and I can't tell if it's last breath or not, don't you think I know that he's dying? She said, when I want you people to come and help me get him out of bed to the wheelchair and to get him in the living room, she says, I'm not being unkind to him. She says, I know that someday, tomorrow or in a week or in 3 days, he's not going to be here anymore. And I'm not going to be able to see him, touch him, hold him, or do anything with him because he'll be gone. And she said, you can call it denial. I want to be with him in as normal a way as possible because I know it's not going to be long where he won't be here anymore. And I don't know what my life is going to be like then. So I'm savoring every single second to be with him. So it's not denial. And it was wonderful because she was so clear, and I'm sure she's a good communicator. She could see that that's what we were thinking and feeling. But she taught me something about this love undenied. She loves this man. And she was trying to maintain as much normalcy as possible, no matter what we thought. We're not there 24 hours a day. She's right. We're not watching his breathing all night and all day. And when he takes a 15 or 20 second pause, how many times in the night does she experience that he could be dying right then? So it was so fantastic because what happened after her and I had that little dialogue, for the first time in 3 weeks, her children came into the bedroom where she and I ended up with the patient and started talking about all their different spiritual values. One of their kids believed in reincarnation. The other didn't know. The other was had some more Greek Orthodox values. And his wife was clearly that there was body and spirit, and she actually used that language. She says, I know that there's his body, and that his spirit will go on, and his spirit will go on to heaven. What's incredible is we're having that talk in the bedroom with this man right there, and it was the first time that had happened. So she certainly taught me this thing, and I call it love undenied. Because when we watch people kind of holding on to normal patterns, she taught me, don't judge that. Don't judge that in a negative way as being denial and not being in tune with reality. She was really in tune with reality. But it was a reality that she knew time was very, very limited. And every second she could be with him, that's going to be her memory. Not that the hospice nurses came and gave him a bunch of medication and sedated him till he passed, but that she spent every second trying to make things as normal and loving as possible. So she was a great teacher for me in that love undenied. Thank you.